Okay, we'll call to order the City of North St. Paul Economic Development Authority meeting for August 8th, 2023, and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Brandy, could you take the roll, please? Or Chris, I'm sorry.
Chair Do,
Here.
Vice Chair Furlong,
Here.
Member Matthews,
Here.
Member Schifsky,
Here.
Member Thorsen,
Here.
Council Representative Cole is absent today, Mayor Monge,
Here.
and for staff and ex officio members present today are Executive Director Frandle, Treasurer Community Development Director Howe, and EDA Secretary Cherne.
Okay, great. The agenda is in front of you. I'll entertain any modifications. Otherwise, a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
So moved.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. The agenda is adopted. The attached to your packet is the minutes from the July 11th, 2023 meeting. I will entertain any discussion or corrections to those minutes. Otherwise, I'll accept a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Got a motion to approve and a second? Second by Thorsen or? Matthews, sorry. Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries, the minutes are approved. Okay, we're starting off this afternoon with a presentation. First one is Open Windows production marketing video. You guys were engaged by us and other agencies within this city, and I understand you've got something to show us.
Yes.
All right. So for anybody that's listening, do we have anybody online or? Doesn't appear so. Okay, just as a reminder, so we engaged Open Window Productions to do I guess we'll call it a promotional video for the city of North St. Paul, to describe various aspects of the city. And I think who do we wrap into that? Parks Council? Who else? Then we wrap some other agencies into this? PD did? Okay, perfect. So this is an update on where we're at.
Yeah, so we've got the first video here, which is kind of targeted specifically for future businesses and business owners and developers for what the city has to offer. And the state it's at is pretty much, I think, ready to go, and we'll take your input and feedback on any changes you'd like to see if there are any. But there's a few upcoming events. We all know Fall Roundup Parade is mentioned in here, and that hasn't happened yet, so that's on our agenda for the second video that we'll be producing. And then it could easily be added into this video as well. But yeah, otherwise, there's nothing else really to say, so I'll begin it.
Are a hallmark of thriving businesses are a hallmark of society. In the city of North St. Paul is a place where history meets opportunity, right in the heart of the Twin Cities metro. Here, you'll find a supportive local government and a small-town feel with big city amenities. North St. Paul has an excellent infrastructure, including easy access to major highways, as well as a variety of commercial properties to suit businesses of all types and sizes. From public transportation, our own private utilities, and outstanding public safety, North St. Paul is built for business.
The city has been fantastic at reaching out, and the police force came in, the fire department would come in after the inspections and just shop with their family. And it just felt like we certainly belonged here, and they gave a ton of support.
North St. Paul is a city on the rise with a rich history and a promising future.
What I can tell you, having been here for a year now, and then the development process before that, this city gets it. And the town itself, they are really excited to see the revitalization that's taking place. And they're loyal. They want to see local businesses succeed. North St. Paul is clearly open for business.
But it's not just about business, it's about community too. North St. Paul is known for its robust community engagement and lively events. From the History Cruisers car shows and music in the park to the Fall Roundup Parade, there's always something happening here.
I've been in North St. Paul since 2007. They're doing a lot of stuff, a lot of different things with apartments they're building in downtown. They're fixing the streets, so they're bringing in more people into town. And they've got the car show in every Friday night throughout summer, which is a phenomenal event for everybody to come down and see all the classic cars. The whole street is, it's got different people serving foods and stuff, so it's like a little great fair every weekend.
It's time to bring your business to North St. Paul and become part of our thriving business community. Contact us today to learn more about the opportunities that await you here.
There you have it. I don't know if there was a sync issue. The audio delay on these monitors was a little bit off, but otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, we might need some, what are they, when they scroll the words at the bottom? Yeah, no, I assume that it can be fixed, so, right.
Yeah, it's just a playback in the room
Okay.
with how the HDMI is not related to the file, so when most people see it in whatever platform they're on, that wouldn't be an issue.
Perfect. Thoughts, comments?
Looks good.
Impressed.
Yeah,
Yeah, did a good job.
Thank you.
right to the point.
So, and what's, you said there's a follow-on video?
Yeah, so the second one will be less about like why this is a place for business and more about why this is a place for families and considering a place to live and visit.
Okay. So, I would assume is that one ready to go, or does that?
This one I would say is ready to go, yeah. The other one is pending a few shots and a few adjustments, but by your next EDA meeting, we'd certainly have that one ready to go.
So what's maybe the best next step? I think we have to, now that we have it in front of us, maybe circulate to some of the staff, communications folks within the city, and maybe get staff to make recommendations on how it's used, or just roll it out, or just direct staff to get it out there. What's the best path here?
For us, I mean, certainly get it on our website and get it out in front of people. Make a mention of it in the city newsletter. People can look at it.
I would add that Carrie Erpenbach, our communications manager, will probably have some strategies on how to get this out to all the various outlets that might have interest in it.
I mean, it looks like it can be a commercial almost on TV too, right?
Yeah, this is the first time I've seen it. It is
Yeah.
pretty good.
Look good.
A lot of it was focused on retail, it seemed like. Was there any, and it went quick, I didn't pick up too much, like Reflex Medical, more manufacturing, maybe Schifsky's or whatever, to show more, other businesses that potentially could be in there?
We definitely can. We had intended on getting Reflex Medical. They've just been difficult to coordinate with. And from what I heard, Kevin was just kind of not maybe very interested in being on camera, but he didn't say that specifically.
Okay.
Maybe if he gets word, he'll show up. But I left a note. I visited. I called. No.
It was just a lot of retail, and, we do have other commercial type
Yeah, good point.
business that could draw, medical or whatever.
We try to form it in a way that speaks somewhat ambiguously. While we, mostly see a lot of the retail, we're not specifically saying that. And when we talk about the new development and the stuff coming, you see residential/commercial being kind of built up in these new spaces that are available. So I think that there's some imagination that's left to the viewer that is not necessarily a problem, but at the same time, it certainly can be helpful to include those things. So we still have budget in what was originally approved that we had planned on capturing additional media. So if there's specific requests, we're happy to take that and capture those additional shots.
So the next video is, I'm sorry, is focused on what?
So it'd be format it similar to this, but the language would change slightly, and it'd be less about why North St. Paul's a place to do business and more about why North St. Paul's a great place to live and visit.
Got it.
You had mentioned the Fall Roundup Parade. Was that something you wanted to capture and put together kind of another video, or in that second video, or?
Yeah,
kind of
it's
the game
mentioned
plan?
in there and was one of those events that we thought we'd probably try to capture. And so we'd be looking at more of like an October delivery if we get that content included. And getting some fall content in general as the leaves turn, I think would be nice as an update. So that second video would have more fall content, have the Fall Roundup Parade. And those could be updated to this video as well. Just anything to keep in mind is like if you put something on YouTube, you can't replace a video on YouTube. You can upload a new one, but you can't ever like, if you got this one, you'd have to take it down. If people saw this one or attached to it, you'd lose those views and stuff. So something to keep in mind. But I would say, yeah, this one is essentially ready to go. And I would advise this one is perfect for EDA site, for North St. Paul site, for those developers, those business owners, those real estate people who could use this. And the second one will be coming out will be great for the websites of the businesses in town and for that more publicly, I think, facing side of things. So we'll have both of those available.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Terry. I think it would be good if, even if there weren't interviews involved, if we could somehow capture,
Yeah.
The reflex facility, even if it's a drone fly, however you do that,
Yeah.
whatever.
Shots of trucks lined up outside.
Yeah, or Schifsky's fleet over there.
Yeah.
What's going on, Burwald's facility. I mean, there,
Right.
a number of, other types of businesses in town. I don't know how big a ask or,
No, that's very easy.
okay.
Absolutely. We'll be able to get.
Would we want to
all
hold
those.
off on rolling this out until we did that, or
Yeah.
can't?
You kind of get one, you get that one chance. So if you're going to add those, it's tough to like wait for those extra shots, but if they're worth getting, then it's sometimes worth holding on to till you put it out there the way you want it.
Yeah.
We've got a wide variety, so it's nice to have everything.
Yeah. But I agree. Yeah, those are easy to get, and certainly we can add those in there.
Yeah, I think that would be great if we sprinkled that in.
Yeah.
With or without commentary.
Yep.
Or maybe the narrator, could say something, we have high-tech businesses in town and, construction-based businesses, whatever that looks like.
Sure. Great.
Other thoughts, comments?
I wouldn't count on getting interviews with any of those people.
Yeah, no, and that's fine. We don't
Busy
need the
either.
interviews, but just like you said, getting those extra shots would be great. Getting,
We could
showing-
pin Mr. Schifsky's down right now.
Yeah, right.
I say we can get an interview from
Yeah,
one
it
of
is.
them, I know.
Tie him down, yeah.
He's retired. He's done.
Yeah, but I think those shots are definitely great and do exactly that. They kind of visualize it and help people see the variety of
Yeah,
businesses.
just build in some narration with it.
Yep.
Yeah, why don't we do that then, and then maybe, can we take another look, because next month, or, I don't know how long.
Would it make sense to look at both the videos when they're ready to go in October? Or do you want to have them come back next month for the revised?
It's easy either way.
Okay. Sure. Let's do one next month and then one in
But if you want, we mentioned Fall Roundup Parade in this one, and so adding Fall Roundup Parade to this one might make sense. But either way, because right now what it is we say Fall Roundup Parade and we say music in the park, but it's all car show. So if anybody's like super familiar, let's see, it's all car show stuff. And showing the variety might be kind of nice. So if there isn't urgency waiting till October for both of them, then we can add both of those shots to this video as well.
I think October's fine.
How long is this video?
2 minutes and 10 seconds. 2 minutes.
Because you don't want it too long, so people start losing interest too.
Right. But there was a lot of car show in there. You could maybe snip a piece of car show out and plug in, some of the other business stuff, but.
Yeah, I would say none of these requests would add to the length. We'll be able to easily make these changes and not modify the length at all. But to your point, one of the things that we had originally mentioned is that once we have these done, if you did want to create a shorter version, we can take this 2-minute version and talk about how you'd want to turn it into potentially, you mentioned an ad, which would have a requirement of being 60 seconds or shorter.
You know, the 2-minute version went by really quick, and it held my attention. You know, if I had to say it was 2 minutes, I would have said, maybe it's a minute and a half, but, you know, it held your attention, and that's what you want to do.
Yeah, well, thank you. That's what we go for.
So I mean, it sounds like we don't really have the sense of urgency. We'd rather publish something that was, you know, kind of incorporated all those elements. So I'm okay waiting until October. Does that make sense?
I would agree with that.
Perfect.
All right.
Okay. And I guess the other thing with that is you showed the corner down there where the new facility's going at Lilly. Did they start tearing that down yet?
Not yet,
Okay.
soon.
So if soon happens to come while you're hitting reflex, it's right across the street, and maybe you can, you know, show some backhoes or something.
Yeah. Oh, show the actual destruction of it. Oh, yeah. that'd be
You know,
cool.
show progress or something.
Down the old and build the new.
With the extra time, one of the things we had considered for the edit was a graphic. So rather than right now it just fades over, we would actually do more of like a stagnated fade on, where like actually animates on, and like the construction part comes over it. So it'd be a little bit more dynamic than it is currently, but then that way I think helps to mask some of the things that are less appealing about that. Like, but that's kind of the excitement about that, is it shows that old becoming new, and so we wanted to sort of emphasize that aspect.
Yeah, and showing a backhoe tearing something down there
Is it-
would emphasize that
Totally.
for people that aren't familiar. I
Yeah,
mean, I
showing-
think we all understood what it was, but if you're not familiar with that,
Yep.
it's like, why did you just show me this ugly
Just-
building?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So we should let you know when that's happening.
Yeah, if it's happening, get word our way. And, yep.
Okay. All right, so staff will work with them to let them know on the deal. We'll add in those other pieces of the other businesses, capture fall roundup and whatever else you intended to capture, and then look at something in October-ish.
Yep. We'll have both 2 videos on this updated one as well as the other version.
Sounds good? Any other thoughts, comments?
Looks great.
Staff, you good?
Yep.
Perfect. Thanks a
Thank you,
lot.
everyone.
Yeah, appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Good work.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we've got the Metropolitan Consortium of Community Developers, MCCD, here to do a presentation, and I am sorry, I have no idea what it's about. Staff?
Well, this came about because a few months ago, we had some inquiries from local businesses about a facade improvement program. And so in looking back at the files, I saw that there was a contract with this organization back in early 2010s. So we used to do business with them in terms of providing economic development services. And so I just wanted to bring it back to this group to let you know what they do, and we can determine whether or not it's something we might want to engage with again. So with that, I will bring Louise and, is it Tyler? Tyler up.
Perfect, thank you. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having us. My name is Tyler Hulsebeck. I'm the Director of Small Business Development at MCCD. And
I'm Luis Mendoza, the Ramsey County Business Advisor.
thank you for having us here today. Just wanted to speak a little bit about MCCD, what we do, how we engage with Ramsey County, how we engage with small businesses in North St. Paul, and how we can be of services to those prospective businesses or existing businesses with challenges or opportunities. MCCD itself is a nonprofit member organization based in Minneapolis. We have about 50 nonprofit members, so affordable housing members, economic development members that do similar work that we do, and we're a consortium of that group. And so we do a number of things at the nonprofit level. We advocate for affordable housing. We have a lobbyist at the state level who advocates for our consortium members to get state funding to do the work that we do. And then we also have an economic development arm, which we are a part of, and it's under the term open to business. So you'll see open to business and MCCD, it's all the same thing, but open to business is the branding that we're under. And so we've been doing open to business in the Twin Cities for about 20, 25 years. We started out in South Minneapolis, providing technical advisory to mostly immigrant-owned businesses. So folks who knew how to run their business, how to do their specific skill or sell their specific good, but couldn't navigate through the systems of starting a business and running a business. And so we contract with the city. We contracted with the city of Minneapolis to provide those services. So it was free to the entrepreneur. And so through the years, that model kind of hooked on with some of the different cities in Hennepin County, and then eventually kind of spread throughout through the Twin Cities. And so now we have contractual arrangements with 5 of the 7 counties, including Ramsey County, through the Twin Cities, some cities within the Twin Cities as well. Those contracts are usually through the economic development authorities or the CDAs or the cities themselves, where they pay us on retainer, and then we turn around and we meet with small businesses one-on-one, confidential, as many times as they want, and provide technical assistance for them to start their business if they're thinking about starting a business, or how to navigate a unique challenge or an opportunity. We're also a resource provider, so if we don't have the professional expertise, we have arrangements with bookkeepers, attorneys, different people who do different things that will provide low cost, if not pro bono services to these small businesses that don't have a lot of working capital when they're getting started. We're a community development financial institution, and so that aligns with our mission of helping businesses that need it the most, traditionally underserved businesses, BIPOC-owned businesses, businesses that are located in areas of underinvestment, low wealth individuals. And so that doesn't mean that we can't help all individuals, but a certain amount, a minimum amount of our services are to go help the underrepresented populations. So we do the technical advisory, and a lot of times people are wondering what is technical advisory. It's kind of like business coaching. You know, we work with businesses on business plans, projections, budgeting, things like that, marketing, you know, and so they come to us, we sit down, we have a one-on-one session with them. Usually the first session is a get-to-know-you session. How did you start your business? How are you thinking about starting your business? What do you want to accomplish? You know, different people have different goals. And then we set forth a path to help them get the resources they need to really make that happen. We try to find the weak spots in the business and try to fill those holes. Sometimes we meet with people once or twice, and sometimes we meet with people over the course of several years. And so that's the technical advisory side. They can come see us as many times as they want. It's free, it's confidential. The other main thing that we do is we're a non-traditional financer of small businesses. And so what that means is that we do things that the business owners typically can't walk into a bank and get. And so it's that startup financing, a business that doesn't have operating history. We do startup loans up to $25,000 for those businesses that are open in like a retail location, service-based business, really like, you know, getting started type business. And if they, you know, typically banks, that's not their bread and butter, you know, especially at that dollar amount. And so we work with banks and credit unions and different partners to send those businesses over to us to see if we can work through their business plan, see if we can get comfortable with that business plan, and then we would lend at that low dollar amount with the idea that they would pay off that loan, they would get into the traditional financing space so they can go get a normal bank loan. So that's the startup piece. And then we also partner with banking, local community banks, and credit unions to do gap financing. And so that's for the move-up business that maybe has a piece of equipment to add, or they've got the opportunity to buy the piece of real estate that they're operating in or can move into. And the bank, either through kind of traditional lending or through an SBA 504 7A program, can lend a certain amount. So let's say it's a $500,000 building purchase. The bank says, we love the deal. We can do 80% of this loan. It's still 20% that the borrower needs to come up with, and that's a lot of their working capital. So that's $100,000 that they would need to come up with. We can do a part of that $100,000 as a gap financing piece, either through down payment assistance or working capital assistance. And so a lot of times we just tell, you know, our banking partners, we want to you know, work with the deals that you like, but it's just got a little bit of a cash shortfall, then we come in and we underwrite that portion of it. We can do loans up to about $300,000. So we're not a huge loan fund. Our total outstandings are about $6.5 million. And so our typical loan amount is less than $100,000, probably around like $50,000 or $75,000. And so we, about 5% of our overall clients are those lending, situations. Most of them are there for the technical assistance and for the, just getting over the hump of what they're trying to do with their business. Like I said, we are, in 5 of the 7 counties in the Twin Cities. We have 7 business advisors, and we're geographically based primarily, but we also have language capabilities. And so, like if someone in another county is requesting different language capabilities, we have Spanish, Hmong, Somali, and those are kind of our main languages that we service. So we have a lot of flexibility on the team to get the business owner the right assistance that they need. Luis is our business advisor here in Ramsey County, so I'll turn it over to
for sure.
Luis.
So basically, well, nice to meet you. So what I do every day is just assist my clients. I help them from business plan development. I help them to get ready to get loans. If they are not ready, I help them to get access to capital. And but basically, that's what I do. And I go to the different cities. I have open to business hours, office hours, we call it. So I go there once per month. I sit down in there for 2 hours. Typically, the cities advertise that, and people come in, and I give that free advice and basically technical assistance. I work from any business at any stage, from entrepreneurs to actual business that they are in need of a small loan or a loan, or they need help from me to partner with a bank to get like a larger loan. That's basically pretty much what I do for Ramsey County. The way that we advertise our services, I am in the Ramsey County website. So I get a lot of referrals from their website from different cities within the county. And typically the cities, they actually have our information in their website as well. So they reach out to me in that way. And if you have any questions, we're here to listen. And do you guys have any questions?
So in 2013, I think we engaged with the MCCD at the time. It sounds like, at least my perception is that the organization has maybe matured some since then. Is that fair to say, or?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. We have, since 2013, picked up different contracts with different counties. Washington County, we started in 2017. City of Northfield, we started last year. Ramsey County was one of the later counties that we contracted with, and we started that contract about 3 years ago. And so, yeah, we've kind of expanded our services. We're overall as an organization, we're at 20 employees. I think back then we were closer to 10. We have a loan admin team that services our own loans. As a team, we see about 700 or 800 different business owners a year. And so, yeah, we've grown quite a bit since 2013.
Yeah, because I think for those that weren't here at the time, part of the idea at the time was a bit, somewhat focused primarily on setting up the capability of providing smaller level loans primarily for facade improvement for businesses in the downtown district. I won't say we ignored the business advisory piece, but it wasn't necessarily an emphasis on it, and I don't, I wouldn't, I can't recall how successful or not that was, how many people took advantage. I'd say whatever it wasn't, it was probably, a lack of in-depth engagement by maybe both parties, but we can wear the fault for that by, not advertising it enough or what have you. So, but it does. It sounds like you're doing a lot more today than I recall from back then. So, what is it? So, what other? You said you had Northfield. How long have you had Northfield?
Northfield's unique in that we're in the 7-county kind of circle around the Twin Cities, and Northfield is half in Rice County and half in Dakota County. And we have a contract with Dakota County, and so the city of Northfield's, very robust small business community. that was interested in our services. And so they reached out and said, you know, we're, the way that the Dakota County kind of contract works is that the different cities that are fully in Dakota County are kind of at the table when they talk about that. And so Northfield's kind of in both. And so they weren't really part of that, you know, Dakota County contract. So they came to us kind of separately and said, hey, can we do a side contract with you guys, essentially doing the same thing, but setting forth some parameters about how many hours you'll be down here, how many office hours you'll do, how you're going to reach out to our local banks and things like that. And that's why we put that together. But more typically, we're on the county level.
Okay.
We started at the city level, but it got a little too administrative because there were too many cities and
Sure.
we were tracking hours. And so we thought it would be easier if we did annual contracts with the counties and get the cities within the counties to get the buy-in. And if we were able to get that done, then it would be much cleaner. And then we could just go out and go throughout the county and provide those services.
So, obviously being part of Ramsey County, we're eligible to advertise that, get our
Correct.
business.
I was going to mention.
Okay, so we're eligible to do that, to promote it?
Yeah, within the Ramsey County contract, you guys are included.
Okay.
Because you're part of the county.
And I believe like the marketing piece, you can actually use the EDA, North St. Paul EDA as part of the marketing piece, and they don't hardly know it's you guys, or is that?
Yeah, so what we do is we typically partner, and so we have an ad library. We got a new communications person this year, and so we have a folder that we'll share with you where it's kind of different things that you can put on, kind of like our general services, what our marketing, bookkeeping, different services. And a lot of times what the cities will do is they'll put either their city, you know, their EDA logo or their city logo on it. We're all partners, you know, and so that's, we're completely open to that, you know, to have, you know, your name right next to ours or, you know, things like that. Yeah.
So what I can do, I can send, well, if you guys are interested, I can send to Brandy and Chris an example from Roseville, for instance. So they have something where they have my information in there. So they can review it and they can add your logos and our logos as well.
Business community, I'm pointing at you guys, just in your involvement with the association, is this something that would be, you guys go and speak to, like, we have a fairly robust business association. You guys would?
Yeah, and that, you know, as Luis was saying before about like how we market ourselves, we don't have a huge, you know, we're not going to be on billboards or anything. So a lot of what we do is, you know, on the ground, you know, and so like going to see local business groups and things like that. So that's right in our bread and butter, you know, lunch and learns, things like that, where we can get in front of people so they know kind of who their advisor is, who they can reach out to, and who they can refer people to. So we'd be happy to do stuff like that.
Yeah, that's absolutely something we would be interested in as a business association.
Yeah.
Like it'd be like you guys would bring a tremendous amount of resources for businesses that are struggling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think a lot of businesses probably don't even know what resources they have out there. Can you send me their contact information, Brandy?
I sure can.
Thank you. And we'll be in touch.
Sure.
Great.
And like Tyler mentioned, we are a resource provider as well. So if we don't provide those services, you know, that the business are requesting, we have so many resources that we can refer our clients to get access to those services. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Like I might not know everything, but my job is trying to find out their resource, what they are looking for.
An example of that would be we contract with 2 bookkeepers, and we offer our clients as part of our open to business services up to 10 hours of QuickBooks setup or bookkeeping questions. You know, so that's typically up to 10 one-hour sessions with our bookkeepers, and that's free. You know, and another one is we've got a partnership with the University of Minnesota Legal Clinic with their third-year business law students, and so just very sharp individuals, you know, that will help with any non-litigious legal, you know, reviewing leases or contracts or things like that might be $200, $300, $400 an hour for an attorney. They'll provide those pro bono services, and so Legal Core is another pro bono legal service. So like, as Louis said, we're not, we come from different backgrounds on the team. I was in banking before this, and some of our team was in marketing. We're all kind of from different backgrounds, but we don't have, former attorneys on the team, things like that. And so we'll make those referrals and things like that. It's just, it's more that the entrepreneur knows that they have somewhere to turn, and that they shouldn't be going at it alone, and we found that that's one of the main reasons that businesses trip up is they've got, issues and they don't really know where to turn. We want to be that kind of like open book that they can just call us up and say like, we're struggling, or we need some help here or there. And so that's where we come in.
Well, it sounds like a, tremendous asset to make sure that our, businesses are aware of that, and maybe community members too, for people that maybe aren't in business or thinking about starting up or don't want to go back to the office post-COVID or whatever.
There's a lot of those, yeah.
Yeah, whatever's going on, right, and want to get moving, so.
Is it the same thing then? Is there
No, I don't. I think Terry was asking, so we have, in your packet, there's a copy. The copy of the contract for services is the one we had from 2013 with MCCD, but what we just heard is they're contracting now through the counties. And Northfield was kind of an exception, a little bit of an outlier. And I don't know that we would need, right now, I think if we can get it through the county's contract, and it sounds like more of how much emphasis we can put on it, tie in with our business association, make the connections. The more that we kind of participate and push, the more attention our folks might get or something. Is
That's
that
exactly
fair to say?
I couldn't say it better.
Perfect.
And we do quarterly reports too, so we can see which cities within the county. So like if we see something like if North St. Paul had one business, in the first 2 quarters, we would take note of that and say, hey, how are we going to be more active in the county? So we would engage with you or something like that. One other thing I'll say is the contract that you had, that was a little bit before me, but we do other contracts with cities that have specific services. So for example, we're the administrator of the city of Roseville's 2% loan program, where they'll fund up to a certain amount of a lending package at 2%. They had some ARPA funds for that. And so we can be the administrators of those types of funds, or we can listen to you to see kind of like what you're trying to accomplish, if it is a facade improvement or if it's some other mechanism that you want to help small businesses. We have another city that we're doing microloans, forgivable microloans up to $5,000 for capital improvements to their physical space. So. Always looking for different ideas from you, and if you want to engage with us to talk about what we might be seeing throughout the Twin Cities, about what other people are doing, just to disperse some ideas. Every city is going to be a little bit different with the needs of their small businesses, but we do that. But that would be outside of our contract with Ramsey County.
Okay, well, that's good to know, because we've had a couple of instances where we've talked about dispersing funds for one purpose or another. A couple of years ago, we did that with some Excess Care Act funds, I think. We self-administered that. We did everything by the letter of the law, I think. But it was an it wasn't our expertise, right? And so, and what was the other thing we were working on, Mayor, recently, where we opted out of, who was that group with the county?
County HRA.
The county HRA, right? So we did have discussions about establishing, funds for North St. Paul specific use, but none of that's occurred yet. But I could see an environment like that where it would make very good sense to have outside assistance on how that gets administered or utilized. So that's good to know for the future.
Yeah, we were the main administrator for the Ramsey County CARES Act Fund too, and so we were neck deep in that for a while, and we did some different cities too, and sometimes some other cities just reached out for different ideas, and we ended up not being the administrator, but able to talk through some scenarios or something like that. We'd be happy to do that.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Would you be able to do this for like the HRA home improvements, or is that strictly business?
We're strictly business, so we
Okay.
have been in that specific space.
Okay, so I think maybe some exchange of information. Certainly want to get it to a business association, and then we'll have it on file. But I appreciate the update. It's very, very helpful, and glad to hear about the, good work you guys are doing. And
Thank you for having us, and
Yeah.
thank you.
Thanks for calling.
We have
absolutely.
some business cards too. So.
Yeah, please. That'd be great. Thanks.
Thank you. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Next item is a meeting open to the public. I don't see anyone else in the room, nobody online. Okay, so we'll move on to item 7, which is EDA discussion and action items. How about that, facade improvement program?
Yeah, this is more of a discussion as opposed to an action item. So I just put this in here because, like I said before, we have had inquiries and I don't think we have an active program. It looks like the last time we had a facade improvement request was in 2018. I did some looking around in our files. We had 7 total businesses that had been recipients of the loan program, is what it was at that point in time, that was administered by MCCD. And as you had mentioned or indicated, there was a little bit of a lackluster response to it, and I couldn't say why. But there does seem to be an interest now, and I just wanted to gauge interest from this body on whether or not this is a program that we would like to investigate, either as a loan or possibly a grant. And I did put a couple of examples in the packet just to show you what other communities are doing. So the city of Cottage Grove and the city of Minneapolis. Cottage Grove offers grants with a 50% match on the property owner's behalf of up to $25,000 for facade improvements. And Minneapolis offers 3 different programs depending on where the business is located. They can either get a third, a half, or 2/3 of the project cost, and the grants are between $5,000 and $10,000. So really, I just wanted to open it up to discussion, and if this is something you would like me to spend time investigating or developing, I would be happy to work on that.
So you said we had 7 through the MCCD from 2013 to 2017?
I think that is what we
Roughly.
had. Our record
Yeah,
keeping
not-
isn't great. That's what I was able to find.
And I don't know, Terry, I know you were around. I don't recall us being super active in that. It was kind of like, hey, it's out there, go.
I think when we first started it, we had feet on the ground. I think Kim Ann was pretty.
Yeah, Kim Ann was.
She was pretty active in getting the word out there, and I think that's when we had all those people. And I've heard, not so long ago that, people are looking for some sort of improvement money and seeing if the city had any type of facade program. So I think the need is still there, but we just never had feet on the ground for a while. Maybe Brandy could.
Yeah, I mean, you said that there was, you've had a couple of inquiries. I mean, can you expand on that a little bit? I mean, is that just people saying, hey, will you give me money to improve the facade, or has there been any more detail with that?
Not really any detail, because we didn't really have any program to offer them. Roddy's came in asking about opportunities, and then there was another business down the street that I don't, do you remember which business that was? Yeah, just a couple of really brief requests. We didn't get a lot of information from them because we didn't have anything really to offer at the time.
I mean, it seemed, I didn't have the opportunity to read through all the attachments, but it seems to me that if we were wanting to participate in something like this as an EDA, that we would, presumably want to put some sort of guardrails on, we're happy to participate in facade improvement, but I got to find the right way to say this. Not necessarily tell people what they need to do, but if you're improving your facade to make it more in line with whatever, that we would be here to help. When I say whatever, to make it look more like we want it to look. I don't know what's the right word there, but
Well, I think I understand what you're saying.
yeah.
We do have design guidelines that were developed in 2005, I think, that are still in the books and that could be utilized in this capacity. So if the guardrails, for example, we would have maybe eligible projects and they would have to meet said design criteria and they would have to, put up such a match, maybe whatever that amount might be, and we would cap the amount of money we'd be willing to give. So we could develop it in any way that this group wanted, but we would need to make sure that it is something that we want to pursue and what is the ultimate goal that we're trying to achieve with such a program. I mean, having a nice looking downtown is going to bring more people down and
Right.
maybe initiate other people wanting to improve their facades as well.
And I would think that as we continue to make improvements, particularly in the downtown district, with the new construction that's going on and some of the business owners that have already taken on improvements there by themselves, there's going to be a number of sore thumbs sticking out, if you will, and it might be worthy of encouraging or helping out if those folks want to do something as well. Thoughts?
I remember this program pretty distinctly. It was presented to the Business Association back, this brochure that you've included in the package. They meet, I don't remember if it was a program offering loan money through the city, but we had long discussions about trying to get improvements done to some of the businesses' facades that, in the opinion of a lot of people, were looking pretty shoddy. But we were also real aware that, hey, these are expenses that probably these businesses just can't afford. So that's what brought forth this program. Some of them were awnings that were pretty shabby. They've been improved since. We talked about signage in front of buildings that were old and needed paint. But that's where we encouraged up these loans that were low interest or also possibly forgivable. So that was a presentation made to the Business Association many, many years ago. And some people took advantage of it, and I think maybe it just kind of died on the vine there.
Yeah, from my memory, back in, 13 to 16 or whatever, when we were more actively engaged in this, one of the reasons we engage with MCCD is because contractually we could afford to engage with them, but what we couldn't afford to do at the time as an EDA is hand out dollars. We just didn't have enough, in the kitty to be able to do that. But I can certainly see the value in encouraging either through the Business Association or just more broadly to, all the existing businesses along, particularly in the downtown district, and encouraging them to make improvements that are, again, bringing them, maybe it's not a, hey, you got to come into full compliance with the design guideline, but get closer, to where you're at. And, that could be, frankly, it could be things as simple as, removing blight or removing things from the property, painting the facade, putting up a new awning, whatever it is, could be pretty simple stuff. So I think that's part of what we should be doing. As an EDA, I think it's certainly well within our charter. And we still don't, while we don't have a massive pot of money to allocate to that, it could also be a program where we say, we're willing to allocate X on a matching fund program, kind of first come, first serve, and put a timeline on it and see how it plays out. But I think it would be important to define what it is we're trying to do with it. Thoughts on something like that?
I think absolutely defining what we're trying to do from an aesthetic standpoint would be important. Secondly, the facade in downtown North St. Paul it should be a main priority for what we attract downtown, and there's a big need for it.
Okay, so
And
it's problematic. in your-
it's absolutely problematic. But I think that, I think we are getting in front of it. I think that this is a good starting point, but in my lifetime and being a business owner on 7th Street, it's going to change because it needs to change. And we're going to need to stay in front of it. But I do think, to your point, having some criteria of how we want the downtown to look should start before we just start handing out money. Because that's just, in my opinion, if we start piece mashing stuff together, are we giving people money and they're doing work, putting just paint on the front, 15 years down the road, we're in the same boat of we're still all over the place on what downtown North St. Paul wants to be or what it wants to look like. So I think that would be a great thing for the EDA to get in front of is the facade in downtown North St. Paul. I think it's a priority.
Yeah, and I think it pairs well with the street improvements and the money that the city is spending to do things, the new light poles, all the stuff that we do during the holidays and the special events and signage and everything, so. Other thoughts?
I do think, going to Chris's point, how we tread lightly on what businesses can afford and can't afford. I think there's going to be a huge, wide range on 7th Street of what a business can pay for and what a business can't pay for. So how do we deal with those hurdles?
Yeah, I would suspect, just thinking out loud on that you could have a grant program to X dollars for those that, can't necessarily afford to put any money in the pot, but a coat of paint would go a long way, right? And you can pay, $2,000, most of these 25-foot wide buildings down here could,
Yeah.
You could get a lot done.
Absolutely.
But then also have a matching funds type program alongside of that for those that had a desire to do maybe more significant improvements. And we're willing to and capable of throwing money into the pot. Is just one idea.
I think not being on the EDA for, prior to this, I think you guys have done a tremendous job up until this of new infrastructure. And I think that we're just, we're lacking on the facade part of it now.
Yeah, and it's one of these things that I think, you call it what you want. I'll call it peer pressure, right? Everybody around you starts doing it, and everybody else looks good. You kind of
No question.
want to look good yourself, I guess. But Brian,
I'd like to echo what I said last month as well. So, yes, for the current facades, absolutely, and the buildings upgrades, but even maybe encouraging new businesses to come in, especially with these work-live units that we'll be having with this new building, to whether or not it's helping them out with a sign, some kind of awning at first, just to help them get going as well, and just throw it out there.
sure. Other thoughts, comments? We can get some direction to staff here, I think. So I think what I'm hearing is that we all kind of think it makes sense. We want to put some definition around what we want. It sounds like I don't know what these design guidelines say, but or how old they are, but we'd probably want to tie it to something like that, right? That the intent is, if you are not compliant with the design guidelines, to move you closer to that, or all the way compliant, whatever makes sense from a staff perspective, and then maybe setting it up as a two-tiered program. So. For the businesses that aren't, flush with cash and want to do simpler improvements, it would be a grant-type program up to a certain dollar amount. And then married alongside of that, a matching fund for more significant improvements. Does that make sense to have staff work on something like that and bring it back for us to look at? I wouldn't tie any dollars to it at this point, because I'm not, we'll need to talk about what's affordable and kind of what makes sense. And I don't know if it's too hard. You can assign it to Chris. He'd love to do this, I'm sure. But maybe just walk down 7th Ave here or 7th Street and do a survey of, hey, I count 10 buildings that, in my opinion, need work, or whatever.
Why is everybody looking at me? Get a loan and fix your building.
You can take Joe on that trip with you.
I do
No,
have.
we don't, I don't, we have to name, I don't think we have to name names or anything, but I do think it might be some value that says, yeah, there's, however you want to class them, 10 that look great, 10 that are marginal, and 10 that are.
One of the things that this program back on the facade improvement stumbling block came along where people wanted to do some signage on their building, but they were required to have gooseneck lighting on their buildings, which was a great expense. And it was dictated by the Design and Review Committee, which was adopted by the council. So some people just refused to make that improvement. It was a great-looking sign, but couldn't do it because you didn't go the next step. So I think there has to be some change there. You might see some improvements done if the restrictive aspects of adding to the front or getting this loan backs off some of those restrictions. I mean, every time, it's nice to have lighting on a building, but there are a lot of towns out there that have varying structures. They all look charming. Just to get them to improve and upkeep the building is the main thing.
Yeah, I mean, the city is pretty eclectic in terms of its architecture, and which I think is natural for a city that's been around as long as ours. And so, we're going to have everything from, timber, log siding to super modern metals and glass, right? And probably everything in between. And so I know what you're talking about. I don't know if I'm not sure the document you're referring to. There was a document called the Downtown Design Manual, which I think we determined during the work on the redevelopment master plan that document was not actually adopted.
Oh, did we decide that?
Well, I did, but I don't know if that's accurate.
I do know that we said in that redevelopment master
There was
plan
a
that
real.
it needed to be revisited.
There was a real
Definitely.
question whether that document had actually been adopted or not. It was being utilized. We had what was it called, the historic something?
A design review committee.
Design and historical review.
Downtown design, whatever historic review group that, everybody that was doing anything downtown had to go through. I had to go through it when I built a building on the corner. But anyway, and that's the document that people were being held to. But when we went through on the redevelopment master plan to decide, okay, what are the source documents, I think we decided or confirmed that document had actually not been adopted by council.
I'll have to
Okay.
look at that. But I would suggest that, at least from my understanding, that's a guideline document and not mandatory like an ordinance would be.
And I think that whatever we apply it to Chris's point, the hope would be that, yes, we don't have to tell businesses, yes, I've got, my canopies that I have on my building are flapping in the wind and torn, and I'd like to participate in this program, but you can't participate unless you put gooseneck lighting on. I mean, that would be ridiculous.
Yep.
That's exactly what the hangup was.
Right, so I would hope that we're not subject to that, but if staff could work on that and maybe take a run at modeling one of the other cities, a draft of, kind of what our goal is, what the kind of base guideline is, hey, if you have an improvement to get you closer to compliance in any way, shape, or form to X, whatever X is.
Yep.
I think that would be great, and then we can revisit it and maybe get something in play.
I'm not sure if do we have that ordinance still in play for the signage? I don't, say, Henry, I hate to put you on the spot. When you guys went in downtown, did you have to put gooseneck lighting?
I don't think that we should put him on the spot.
Was,
For his sign, the sign
For sign.
ordinance does not have any sort of mandatory lighting requirements.
okay.
There's regulations on whether, sorry?
Call up Dell and talk to him.
Yeah,
Fill you all in on it, okay?
Well,
He'll give you an earful.
so
I know
I
we
will
used- I know we
investigate
used
the
to have
gooseneck
it.
lighting issue, and
Well, if it's
we'll bring it-
gone, I applaud that.
I don't know where it's coming from, but we're not requiring it for new signs at this point in time.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that as part of this process might be a good opportunity, because, part of our, again, part of our role here is to encourage businesses to come to town and stay in our town, and so if we have something like that that is a detractor to existing or new businesses coming to North St. Paul or staying here, then I think it would be incumbent on the EDA to let planning and/or council, hey, you got a dumb ordinance out there that people are shying away from, and we don't want to lose people just because they don't like gooseneck lighting or can't afford it. For the record, I have gooseneck lighting on my building.
You had to have it.
I know.
I'm looking at the document now, and there is gooseneck lighting depicted. But that's in the manual. I'll look at it.
Okay,
We'll
yeah,
talk
so,
about this.
but, maybe if something comes out of that, I mean, I think that, part of our, one of the challenges that, we do have, right, with the city that is as mature as ours, I mean, we do have some extraneous documents, and this is not a knock on staff or city management, but, we have some of these extraneous documents that are, hiding in the weeds that somebody pulls out every once in a while that has kind of ridiculous stuff in it that, it's not necessarily our role, but if we see it, something that needs to be cleaned up, it's certainly our role to, suggest to staff or council or whoever that maybe they ought to look at it. To be,
Staff is definitely prioritizing those different documents that are needing to be looked at, and top of the list is zoning ordinance. And then I think subdivision ordinance, and this downtown design manual is probably lower on the list, but it's still on the list. If it's something that council wanted to bring up on priority, we could certainly try to accommodate that, but I think that we might need some assistance from an outside consultant to help us develop a new one, or if we wanted to simply consider repealing it. If it is an adopted document, that's an option too. Let me take a little bit of time to look into it and see.
sounds like a great expense for city council, not the EDA. Sorry, Mayor.
Under facade improvement program, can we add kind of our facade improvement with that parking lot issue that was presented to the council? Can you expand on what happened there?
Oh, I was going to expand on that, I think, in the
It's
update.
not on here, but
it's not
I'd
in
love to hear about it.
That'll be on staff updates or no?
It should be in the staff updates.
Okay,
Yeah, I think
good, then we'll pass.
Yeah, it's in staff
Wait till
updates.
that.
Okay, enough guidance for that?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know that there's any big hurry, but next month after, it'd be great to maybe see something that we can start talking about.
Absolutely. I'll
Okay.
put that on the list.
Great. Okay, item 8, treasurer's report. It's attached in your packet. Treasurer, if you
There's
want.
not a lot to report for the month of July, other than we did receive our tax influx payment. The money's in
Yay.
the bank.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yep.
Did we get all of it?
And the other item I'll point out is the refund and reimbursement of $4,820.75. That was for the Lilly project that you had
Great.
informed me about last month, so he has paid that
Perfect.
for the MOU.
There you
No
go.
other contractual expenses were incurred over the month of July, and our ending fund balance is $487,856.99.
And that 100 that we received, 453 is half of the levy, is that right?
Say that again?
The property tax,
100,453 is half of the levy? What do you mean? Oh, because we're supposed to get it into installations, is that the question?
Well, I think our levy is 200 something, right?
I'll have to verify
Probably,
that with our
probably
finance
reflects the
director.
first half real estate taxes collected.
Okay.
And then that comes in July,
Yeah,
and then we probably will get the rest of it
December,
probably in
January.
December.
Yeah, I have a note in here from Dan that says tax levy in July/December, January. So
That's why we have a CPA up here.
Okay.
goodness. Goodness and form.
Yeah, so I think that's half the levy, so there's,
think you're right, now
should be
that
another 100 coming.
Find that out.
Okay.
So that concludes the treasurer's report, unless you have any questions.
Any questions?
Way to get that rebate,
Yeah, we got the,
refund.
I knew they owed us some.
Funny how that just kind of gets forgotten, I'm
Right.
sure.
So, hey,
Good job.
we got almost $5,000 back, perfect.
That'll-
Just, I will ask another question. So one of the things that we talked about, this is relative to the Lilly project and the TIF associated with that. Dr. Waldron, when he was assisting with that as whatever his capacity was, consultant to the EDA or to the city, he talked a lot about the ability for the EDA as kind of a facilitator to, and these are my words, not his, but essentially extract a fee as part of that TIF arrangement that would feed the EDA, coffers for future efforts in that regard. I don't, and I'm probably using all the wrong language, but there was a lot of talk at the front end about setting that up. Am I?
You're correct. We brought that up recently with our current finance director, Dan, and Michaela from Baker Tilly about that administrative cost. I don't know all the details about it, but you're right, we had that discussion.
Yeah.
I'm going to be meeting with Baker Tilly and Dan tomorrow, so I'll inquire about that. This is
Right, and if needed, I would strongly suggest maybe calling Craig Waldron. I'm sure because it's something they did as a matter of course in Oakdale, and it did really help feed the EDA. And I think the basic premise of it was not not a money grab, but the EDA puts a lot of effort into working with these developers, getting them to the table, getting to the point where we actually have a project, and then, here we sit, what do we get for it, right? And the way that they have, a number of cities, including Oakdale, have done this is that there is I think you're right, I think it's called some sort of administration fee or something like that, that can, per statute, be, put into the TIF program that feeds back to the EDA to help us do that effort in the future. So,
sounds like a worthy investigation.
yes, and it would be a lot more than $4,800. So. Don't make me define a lot. I don't know what a lot. Okay. Updates, staff updates,
Okay,
Brandy?
so in the packet, there is a staff report that's got the updates on all of the topics that we generally talk about in the EDA, the non-discussion or action item topics. So within this, item A is the green space / parking lot at the 2579 7th Avenue that you just inquired about. And the city council did consider that at their last meeting, and they did not approve the request. They sent staff back to do some additional investigation. They wanted to have clarity on what the cost would be to get a water connection from the street to the site for the irrigation purposes, if it was to remain a lawn. They wanted to investigate what it would cost if there was artificial turf. Oh, what I forgot to mention is the city council, at least 2 members, possibly 3, felt fairly strongly that it should remain a green space if it's going to be developed in some fashion. So they were not necessarily all in favor of paving the entire lot. So they've not come to terms with a decision, but they basically wanted to have more information on what are the costs and what are the pros and cons for 3 different options that we're looking at. So they're going to talk about it again next Tuesday.
Well, the issue that I want to make sure that the council understands was that this project is, that site is a future development site. And if we're going to make the kind of improvements for green space, and we're going to spend that kind of money to improve it and water it and maintain it, then it turns more of a non-redevelopment site to just a green space site that the city wants. So let's quit fooling ourselves and calling this a redevelopment site then. I think if they're going to go forward and spend that kind of money and then still have it open to tearing it all up 3-4 years from now, if someone comes in and says, hey, what about this space? No, that's a park and we're going to leave it that way. I'm fine with that. What I don't want to see is us spend crazy money and then tear it all up in a couple of years. That's my point, and I thought that that was pretty evident on our recommendation to the council, but I don't think it came through that way.
In what manner?
Well, maybe it wasn't presented in that fashion. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure how the council absorbed it. We count strongly on our council representatives on the EDA to carry the water, but
Sure.
I don't know what.
We discussed it. Two of the senior members that were on the council were very much in favor of keeping it as a green space like they were talking before. And there was a couple other ones that were on the fence. My big thing was to understand if we went along with it, because I know how much asphalt, you know, for my own thing, I know how much asphalt's gonna cost, but I don't know how much it would be for the actual park part of it and to get water and everything else. There was a lot of unknowns for that. So until there was a final price, I was going with the number of the parking as far as that, because it can't be thousands of dollars, because that's not a number that we can work with. We have no idea. Is it 25,000 because you got to go all the way down to Margaret, or is it you can connect onto another building? So that's where we're kind of at with it.
Yeah, I think that I want to go back to the old City Hall site, which is where Sentinel Building is now, and just reflect back on that when, it took Jerry Bell, sitting in my chair to essentially just say that is ugly. It's disgusting that we look at that every day, and we need to do something. And we wound up planting grass there. We did wind up, I think, running a little bit of electrical so that we could, I think water was fairly accessible. And then, so we could sprinkle it. And then Schifsky's was generous enough to, at that time, donate a parking area. Now that was, in fairness, that was paired with a new kind of pervious pavement product, I think, that had come out. So there was a kind of a win-win there. But I would take a similar tact and say that is a future development site. I would not abandon that. I cringe at any point in time labeling it as a park, because the second you call it a park, we're stuck.
Yep.
So I like the term green space as a temporary. But I mean, the fact remains is that the same thing that happened over there. It's ugly, and we should do something. And I feel like we've gone into this realm of overthinking what's down there. I understand public safety, and we do have to deal with how it's presently being used, and but I mean, the reality is, if we said, scrape that thing off, put some gravel parking in the back and dump 8 inches of topsoil and lay some sod on it and borrow some water from the neighbor, we'd probably be talking about a, $30,000 bill at the top end or something.
Well, what do you feel that lot is worth? If you put 200,000 into it, what is it worth now?
We shouldn't. We should never. I mean, it's worth maybe $6 a foot. I mean, it's not worth $200,000.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. You put more into it than what it's worth, and it's too small.
Right.
Right.
Have we had in the past amount of interest in any developer purchasing? No.
No, we've had a couple tire kickers. I think the furthest we've gone down the path on that site is we had a couple of schematics done that was kind of a joint food service or restaurant facility with a small amount of housing on top. But I mean, that didn't play out for whatever reason. But
Also, there's really not a sign that says for sale, it says future development. I mean, to me, it's like, what is that? My wife is a realtor, and the lady across the street at the eyebrow place, she goes, do you know that place is for sale? She goes, I had no idea. It says future development.
right,
So, I mean, if we're gonna put it for sale, we
maybe
need
it
to
should say
put it for sale.
available for
Exactly. Or whatever, but it does not look like it's for sale.
Right. I just think that, you know, particularly as we, you know, look at other things, I don't know, I think it's on the list, we'll probably talk about it today. You know, we look at Pine Tree Center, and we watch that thing continue to get into a state of disrepair, and then we're gonna, you know, just like we did over at Ground Round, make demands or requests for code enforcement or what have you. Here's a lot that we own, and we should maintain it at some reasonable level. So, you know, whatever the end result there is, it sounds like you've got some direction for the council to look at a couple other options. I think the EDA is willing to participate. I won't, I mean, we've already decided, so I guess I can speak for the group. We've decided we're willing to participate at some level, but not, you know, we're not ready to write a $70,000 check or whatever to, you know, to play down there because we don't think it's worth it. But,
Yeah.
but I
Well, we
would.
did find out, and after this was sent out as part of the agenda, that the cost to tap the water in would be 15,000.
How much?
15.
From the street or from the
From
neighbor?
the street. So that would bring the total to just about 95,000 for the
Yeah, and see,
half
yeah,
parking.
we're getting into the realm that just doesn't make sense, you know? And so, but I would still suggest that, you know, we find a way and continue to press in conjunction with council that we should do something there, you know? Even if it's you know, get rid of the big potholes and put a fresh coat of Class 5 on that thing, whatever it is, I mean, make it more presentable, because it's just getting more and more run down.
I wasn't here at the last meeting, but I would agree with you. I mean, when Jerry Bell, when we had that lot over there, it looked like crap. You know, the downtown looked very depressed, the way it looked. And just by, like you say, throw some sod down and throw, you know, something in there to make it look nice, at least make it look nice for the downtown, aesthetic-wise, make it look nice. I think that goes a long way.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think we've let it get a little bit out of hand in terms of, you know, that lot over there is 3 or 4x the size of this one, and I don't think we put $15,000 into that. I might be a little off base there, but we didn't put a lot of money in it to make that happen, so.
Yeah, and that's where the council sits. It would not, they're at the parklet.
They're at what?
Green space.
Understanding it.
Called green space.
Yep, green space, yeah.
Green space.
Not a park.
Well, fine, but is that permanent? No?
Well, that wasn't permanent over there.
Yeah, that wasn't permanent over there. I mean, even, even if you put in a 6 foot wide, you know, enough, you grade the thing out, put in 6 feet of grass and topsoil and Class 5 the rest of it, so it looks decidedly better than it does. I mean, we're better off. I mean, I don't know what the, you know, the end result there, or the right answer is here, but.
One winter at Class 5, it's gonna look just like it does right now.
Right.
Okay, I'll quit saying Class 5.
One other point here too, as far as the city's concerned, as far as ED, you know, economic development, parking is something that we have to address. And I've been down to the last several car shows, and I make a purpose walk through that parking lot. I've counted over 40 cars parked in there. And this proposed parking lot has 17. I just don't get it, spending that kind of money for 17 parking spots. It just blows me away from an economic development perspective. So either we do this and then just put it to bed and don't call it a redevelopment site anymore, or as in the words of Tim Cole in our last discussion, he brought it up that this has been taken over 2 years and we're nowhere further. And the chairman's brought this up to get moving on this, and I think we took great action. And it's like, I think it's fallen on deaf ears. So I know we can't really do anything, we're recommending, but if they're gonna improve that to that point, then I think we should just take it off the redevelopment
Yes,
list.
we are
because-
wasting our time here.
Yeah, right.
Like you said, 2 years, we've been wasting our time. We're not any closer today than we were 2 years ago.
We were pretty close last meeting.
Yeah.
We were.
But
We were.
now it's been trumped.
We were, well,
That's fine, it can be trumped. I get it, we're an advisory committee.
you know, well, we're new, and, you know, there's 3 new and 2 other ones, and I guess that's what it's been talked about for forever has been that, so. And it didn't seem to move anywhere at the last meeting as far as, going with just parking only.
Okay.
So we are
All right, well,
pretty much stumped right now.
but council, apparently council's given direction to staff, so you're waiting some feedback from, okay.
We sounds like we got it now. It's 15 for the water, as far as that. And then, so that was my thing. I have a known number of what the park, or what the pavement would cost, and I had no idea for what the water and all the other stuff would be. So,
Yeah, I mean, at some point,
That's why-
the EDA agreed to contribute
Yes.
it up to 31, but I think we're getting, I mean, I don't even know that we're all even still comfortable with that today, where that number sits, and if we were having to put in more, that's not likely
I agree.
gonna happen.
Well, and if we run water in there, we might as well run it in there big enough to support a building
Exactly.
that goes on there instead of just a couple of sprinklers.
That's where I think we've
Did you ever find, you were
That's
talking
gonna
with the
be
staff?
more than 15 grand.
Did you ever find the stub for that place?
I'm assuming the when they went back out there for them to give us that $15,000.
Oh, so that was
price.
just, okay, so they did find the stub for the lot,
Or-
and it's 15 to get it to work?
Did you have that conversation with Ron? Was that to the main, or did they find the valve?
I can't answer that.
Yeah, 'cause
It's to the street. I don't know the difference between the main and the valve.
Okay.
There was a medical center there, they had to have water.
It had to be a
That's what we
shut
were
off.
looking for. They couldn't
Yeah.
find it when Brian was talking, because they probably buried it with the building, but they might have found it then, maybe?
Yeah, either that or the main, so that's where the cost came from.
All right.
All right, well, right now, it sits in the council's hands, and I think unless anybody has a disagreement, we'll just table it for now and see what comes back our way, and see what, if anything, we want to do. Is that fair?
Yeah, you guys put up what, yeah, I agree 100%.
We did what we could.
Yep,
Yeah, perfect.
it's in the hands.
Also in the interest of time. Okay, Lily?
Okay, Jim came in today. He dropped off a check for what was owed for the development agreement to cover administrative, legal costs, et cetera. He indicated that he closed with the bank, I think, this week or last week, and demolition permits have been pulled, so that building is coming down imminently. He had a meeting at 1 o'clock today, so he didn't know exactly the date that it was gonna happen, but hopefully by now, he'll give me a heads up so I can let the marketer know, or the videographer know. Open Window Productions, we already had an update on that. The city lot on 17th Avenue in Delaware, the city council heard proposals from the 2 different developers, and the city council has directed staff to provide a little bit more detail to give them guidance on how to make a decision on, in terms of which developer to go with for the development of that lot. So they'll be considering that at the meeting next week as well. Mr. Dobbs, the developer of the proposed condos, the garage condos, will be presenting to council too, next Tuesday at the workshop. And Pine Tree Center, I have no updates on that. Did you want to discuss that project or that
Yeah,
property?
I had talked to Brandy a couple days ago, last week, something like that. The lot in general is continuing to fall into a state of disrepair and is ugly. And so I don't know what is available via code enforcement. It's a little bit out of the EDA lane, but, you know, it's signs flapping in the breeze, grass is getting taller, et cetera. So I think, you know, I think unlike the ground round site, you know, where it kind of let it go, and then, you know, and it got really ugly, and once we, you know, the city tried to start doing something, that was my perception, that may not be the case, but I think if we can try to stay on top of that from a code enforcement, that would be good for us as a city to keep it from going into, you know, being empty is one thing, but complete blight is a different thing, so whatever you can do, city manager, that'd be great.
We're on it.
No updates on Pizza Factory or Reflex Medical. Haven't been able to get a hold of Kevin Fuller. And the bylaws, no update on that either.
What was the update on the bylaws? I'm sorry.
No update on the bylaws at this time.
Okay, but we are expecting a modified set of bylaws for review and
In the future, yes.
in the future, okay. But there's no,
There's no
Urgency
urgency
to
to that,
that, okay.
in my opinion, yeah.
yep, agreed. Okay, any updates from EDA members?
I, out of curiosity, called Garry Mulcahy to see how things were going, and I know that you have talked to him, and I just wanted to emphasize to him that we had a pretty resounding endorsement of his project, and asked that the council know that we are fully in favor of that project. And he said, well, I heard that, thank you very much. He's looking at this as more of a 2024 project at this point, because he says, I'm not gonna be able to get things going, but we need to keep moving on the planning and approvals and things like that to see if I think it's a great opportunity for everybody in our town. And we've had a lot of testimony about how these things look out in the other communities. I think it'll be a fantastic add to our town if it goes through. So, sounds like he's enthusiastic about it still. So.
Yep, and I did have an opportunity to see the packet that's going to council. I would ask that maybe a few things to carry back. One of the key things about their proposal, and we talked a little bit about when we were considering an RFP for across the street. He is adding, his development that he's proposing is 60% city land and 40% of land that he currently owns, which is a big deal, right? We're bringing in private and property, and really that's a tight site by itself, right? It's very hard to get something that's viable, and that's why we've gone down the path and gotten nowhere a couple of times. So to me, that's a big deal. The other thing that I know, because I know one of the other groups intimately that's doing these around town, and then I'm familiar with the third. There's one going up in Rosemont right now. It's pretty significant. There was one that was just approved in White Bear Township, and one that was approved in, I don't know I think it was Woodbury, might have been Afton, but I think it's Woodbury. So these are, this is not some rogue concept here. I mean, they're becoming pretty popular, and so whatever that's worth. I think that if the folks on the council aren't familiar with them, it's good to, good to know that we're not trying to create something out of whole cloth here. It's happening around the Twin Cities, so. Any other updates from EDA members? Staff, anything additionally? Perfect.
I have,
Are you staff or EDA member? I'm sorry.
Waiting for you to say mayor, but you didn't say it.
Well, they took it off.
Well, we're still here.
Okay.
I was able to go to the student house building, so it turned out very nice. Another one of their beautiful projects that they turned out for us. So, and then they're hoping to get the foundation for the next one going here pretty quickly. So it turned out very nice. And they already had interest, and it's not in the market yet. People reaching
Where
out.
is that?
It's next to the former mayor's house down there on Eldridge.
Not next to it, down the block.
No, down.
Okay.
Yeah, it's turned out real nice. It's like the one on 19th. It's a good product. It's one level. It's what our community needs, more one-level homes. It's
Fun
with
to
the
see
walkout
the
basement.
old picture and the new picture.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
So
Pretty,
that was enjoyable. And then National Night Out, I was poured, but I was at the fire station, City Hall. So we had a good turnout there, about 150 showed up for that. Kids got to use the fire hose and get hot dogs. And so it was a very nice event, as usual.
Great. Okay.
I'm gonna throw out an invitation next Wednesday from 4 to 7. You're invited to the house on,
Poplar, they're the last one on Poplar like us.
what's the address?
2605, I think it is. Poplar?
You'll see the big white house.
Yeah, on the lake.
They're gonna have an open house.
The Regan.
If you wanna take a look at that inside, they redid
The
it.
one with the greenhouse?
Yep.
The one with the
Oh, yeah.
greenhouse. Be kind of fun to go over and take a peek at it.
If you look across the street, you'll see the mayor's trailer.
Double wide.
Double wide. It's a double wide. They did add another section on when I became mayor, so it's not bad.
From 4 to 7.
Yeah,
On the
We'll take a look at it.
16th?
next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
Is that just a private residence?
Mm-hmm.
And they're-
Before they move in, they want to show off.
It's been going on since 2019, so
Okay.
people have been very interested, and it's been a house around the area, that everybody knows, so they're like kind enough to show off their beautiful, beautiful work they've done on it.
Perfect. Anything else? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I got a second before I got a motion.
Oh,
Yeah, I got a motion.
second.
A second for Mr. Schifsky. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, meeting is adjourned. Next meeting is September 12th, 2023.